I guess, and I think old. I like just seeing ships fly around. There's no ship to fly around, though. I understand you can't have that kind of opening here, so it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But so this is just not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
I thought it was done well. I think I see both human and synth involved in that whole thing, and then when it goes on to him, my only fear is that Picard's a synth somehow, but I don't see them doing that.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think it's just the tie-in.
I do too.
Yeah.
Like when they're making the eye, to me that looks like a positronic brain being made, and then it's like, oh, it's an eyeball. Like, you know. So, but and then you see it's Picard's. Everything's Picard's at the end. Yeah. So, which is cool, and it's after you see it's Picard's after they go through the Delta. I think.
Yeah,
they show the Delta, and then he pops up.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
He's not in any scene before the Delta, and then he's there, and those last few pieces are attaching to his face.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. Again, it's just not my thing for Star Trek, but whatever. Yeah. I have to get over it. So
I'm wondering if they're going to, because in Discovery, the drawings that changed throughout each episode,
slightly,
they would draw something different, based on the episode on where we were in the season. So it's going to be curious. I'm going to watch the intro to see if they, maybe change a few things to highlight what has already been seen or what's coming up in an episode.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it is very reminiscent of the Discovery one, too, because it has, like, stuff growing, kind of chasing a thing that's flying, which we saw. Whatever. I guess we'll see. We only got one episode, unlike when Discovery released with two. So that's a little upsetting, but I understand why, because in Discovery you kind of needed those two to get to the Discovery part of the show.
Right.
Where in this one you don't.
Right.
I was just trying to be greedy there and get 2 episodes. Really.
Yeah,
so.
I know. Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, I loved where the episode went as soon as we got back, and before the interview, she says, one of his handlers say to him, you're not sleeping, nightmares? And this is a great line. He goes, the dreams are lovely. It's the waking up I'm beginning to regret.
Yeah.
And personally, I can completely understand that. 100% understand that theory. So for listeners who are new to us, if you haven't followed us from the Edge over here, I tell a lot of personal stories. So I'm very wide open that way. When I was just 14, my dad passed away. And when he passed away, shortly after he had passed away, I started having dreams of playing baseball with him again. And where I would play baseball with him when I was a really little kid, I grew up in apartment buildings in Queens. There was like a patch of grass with a sidewalk and then a row of bushes. And when I was really little, it wasn't far, but when I was really little, I'd hit it and I'd run around like it was bases there, and they were probably only 20 feet to the bases or whatever.
Right.
But if I hit it over the trees, which wasn't easy at that age, it was a home run. So I was playing with my dad. I'd be playing baseball, and I'd hit it, and I'd run, and I'd hit it, and I'd run, and I'd run to second, and whatever. But at the end of the dream, I would always hit the ball over the trees. And now if you've ever seen Field of Dreams, you know when they go into the cornfield, they disappear. Mm-hmm. Well, that was me and my father's movie growing up. So Star Trek was one of our shows, and Field of Dreams was one of our movies. So now it comes full circle, and I hit it over the bushes, and my dad would go to the bushes, and he'd never come back.
Oh.
And it was the waking up, realizing that, oh, man, he's not here to play baseball anymore. No longer going to Yankee games together or anything like that. I would have to come to the realization that I would never sit down with I sat down with my grandfather and my father, watched baseball games. That would never happen for my son or my daughter. And I had to realize that every time I woke up. So you wake up afraid, but it's not really the dream that's bad. It's the waking up and realizing the reality of the situation that stinks.
Yeah.
So I completely understand how Picard feels at that moment when he says that.
Yeah. It's interesting when you were telling this story, and, I saw this on the outline, and it just instantly made me remember that I, too, have dreams very similar to what you were describing. So from my birth, basically, we had family reunions, and coming from a very large family, starting from 1974 for 30 years. Every other year, our entire family would get together for these reunions every even year. And my grandfather passed away first, and then my grandmother passed. And since Grandma's passing, I get these dreams where I'm back in these family reunions, and I'm sitting beside my grandma, and I'm talking to my grandpa and catching him up on all that's going on in my life. And it's so beautiful to feel my family's love in these dreams. And then you're right, I wake up and I miss my grandma and grandpa so much. Like, my mom was a single mom, and so I was always out visiting grandma and grandpa. I mean, they basically helped raise me, you know, with mom being single and everything. And that is a very good way to look at it. It's like the dreams are beautiful. And then to wake up and knowing that I don't have my grandma and grandpa there is difficult sometimes.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to go through.
Yeah.
It's very hard, and as is shown in this story, you said it happened when you were 30. You said your grandparents passed away around your 30.
Mm-hmm.
So I was only 14. You were 30. Picard was whatever age he's supposed to be when Data died. Yeah. So it doesn't change. It's not like it only happens to kids or it only happens to older people. This is a pretty, universal thing. And we're actually recording this the day that Kobe Bryant and his daughter went down in a helicopter crash. Oh. So I can only imagine. Right. I was talking with somebody and I said, I kind of understand how his other daughters feel. And I went, no, I don't. Because I didn't lose a brother or sister to that, where they've lost two family members in one tragedy, and other people that they knew in their lives, because apparently it was the daughter's basketball game they were heading to, and there was other teammates on board. So, all of these people are going to have similar type dream. I'm sure of it. Whether they remember them or not is another story, but they're all going to go through some kind of form of mourning in this way. So it's something that's universal, and it's fairly, if enough people think about it, I'm sure they know somebody who passed that they now genuinely miss. And the waking up part's the part that sucks, not the having the dream about the person. That part's great. It's the next step.
Yeah, it's interesting because Picard is so much older, and we're getting these hints and addressing issues of what older people are going through. And this is one. I mean, as an older person, you are going to experience more loss in your life. I mean, that's just life. And we are getting these issues handled with him not being able to keep up, right, when they're running up the stairs, or, him wanting to be in the dream more than his life. I mean, these are issues that I think older people really do experience. And the older that I get, it's nice seeing, because they never really address ageism in Star Trek before. I mean, they do sometimes hit and miss. They did in TNG. I know that one the most, but I think we're really getting this, and this is one evidence of this age and experiencing loss.
Yeah, well, we also, to add to that, we also get the scene where he after the attack on her and she dies, he gets blown back and the cops find him and bring him back. I'll just jump into it, whatever. At first I was like, oh, was that a dream too now? Because you really don't know where the dreams end and the reality starts in this show, the first run through, really. Mm-hmm. But it turns out, no, he was just waking up from being passed out. And in that speech, in that talk he has with his handlers again, he says, I haven't really been living. I've just been waiting to die. And that's probably what a lot of people, when their mobility goes down. Look, I'm a construction worker. My knees already hurt. My shoulders already hurt. I do my best to get out of bed and do things. Mm-hmm. And I'm not that old yet. But I can only imagine when I'm 55, 60, 65 years old, I don't want to be one of those people just sitting around waiting to die. I want to be doing stuff.
Yep. Yeah. I think the hints are very strong that we're seeing in this episode. And I predict that now he's got this mystery. His brain is going to start thinking, and that's going to actually reinvigorate his life, and that we're going to see more action from him. But as of right now, yeah, he's an old man and having to deal with these older issues.
Yeah, and he was content with being just an old man.
Yeah.
He was kind of a recluse, right? He was in hiding. He wasn't doing interviews or any such things. Which brings us back to the interview portion of this show, which I thought was fantastic.
Oh, my gosh. Amazing. Just, I loved the back and forth that they had. And I know that we'll talk about it. I mean, because you put Dunkirk, like that reference just blew me away. And I loved that the reporter was like, oh, well, it's a feat of building the pyramids. And Picard's like, no, that is not even the close simile or analogy to what we were doing here. It's more like Dunkirk. And so it's just, that was brilliant. I loved that tie-in into history.
Oh, yeah, me too. Absolutely. The fact that they used that, and you know what it was even better is he looked at her afterwards and said, you don't even know what Dunkirk is.
Yeah.
You can just wave your hand and make it go away. And I'd be willing to bet a lot of people don't know what Dunkirk really is. They probably have heard the term before, but they don't understand.
The recent movie.
Yeah, but I don't watch movies that much anymore. But a lot of people don't understand just how pivotal that battle was and what really happened there. Mm-hmm. And how they had to get so many people out, and how many, you had on the Allied side, right? You had 61,774 total killed and wounded, right? The British, that was for, I believe, yeah, it's total. British had 3,500. The killed during the evacuation, 63,879 vehicles, including tanks and motorcycles, were destroyed. 2,472 field guns were destroyed. 23 destroyers damaged. 89 transport ships, 177 aircraft destroyed, 127 belonged to the RAF Fighter Command. You had 18,000 killed and 3,500 captured from the French with 3 destroyers. You even had, on the other side, you had 20,000 killed and wounded, 100 tanks, 240 aircraft in theater, and you had 150 aircraft on Dunkirk front for the Germans. This was massive. So this wasn't a little thing. This wasn't just building the pyramids, as they say, although we can get into the historical realism of that, too, which is totally different than what was used in the episode. But, the point is this was supposed to be more about a war. In Dunkirk, you had the United Kingdom, which is and British India. You had France with Morocco and Polish exiles, Belgium, Canada, and Netherlands versus just the Germans. All those names I named first only had about 400,000 soldiers. The Germans had 800,000 on their own. Only 338,226 were actually evacuated from that battle, though. That's a lot of people left behind.
Yeah.
Which is the point Picard was attempting to make at the moment.
Yes. Yeah, the sheer numbers that Starfleet turned away from.
Yeah. And I want to say his vitriol for them for doing it is the best part of that scene.
It is.
Starfleet was dead. I wasn't going to stand there and be a part of it.
Yeah.
So I
wasn't going to be a spectator.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was phenomenal. Was absolutely phenomenal. And it has some ties to what's going on today. We've seen this happen with other places in the globe right now.
I was also thinking that, especially after the Iraq and Iran wars, and then there was this huge push to just pull back, and we need to fix America, and the rest of the world be damned. I mean, it's sort of the Obama time that it's like, we're just going to come in and we've got to take care of us type of feeling that happened, and it's like there's atrocities going on. Well, we can't save everyone mentality was going on. Do you remember feeling that? Yeah.
Well, there's still that feeling today. We walked out on one of our allies in the Middle East just recently. We said, sorry, we're spread too thin. You had that feeling during the Obama era. You had that feeling. You always have that feeling. Should we be there or should we not? And at least half the population believes, oh, well, we shouldn't help anybody. We should just worry about ourselves. We are not the, world police. But at the same time,